Jnana Timbarandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshut Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So today we're going to explore prayer in devotional service. As many of you know, Vandanam is one of the 9 processes of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, which includes prayer and also offering obeisances. It's interesting how there's these different aspects to Vandanam. And the offering of the obeisances kind of expresses the mood in which we should offer prayers. There's part 1. This has several parts. We may have several sessions of this. And these 2 words, Sarpratanatmika and Dainya Bodhika, this is part 1 of our presentation. This comes from a section in the Nectar of Devotion, which is called submission. And that submission is a little bit misleading because immediately when we think of submission, we think, oh, yes, this is the devotee submitting to the orders of the spiritual master, submitting to Krishna, this is it. But actually submission is a translation of the word vigyapti. And vigyapti means the submission in the sense of submitting an appeal. It's different kind of prayers, and so we've done a little revision in that section of the Nectar of Devotion. And this is what it says about these 2 aspects, is there's 3 of them, Sampratanatmika, Dainya Bodhika, and Lalashamayi. We won't talk about Lalashamayi today, but these 2, Sampratanatmika and Dainya Bodhika, are exactly where we're at in terms of our offering prayers to the Lord. So I'll read this from the Nectar of Devotion. In the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada defines Sampratanatmika as very feelingly offering prayers. In Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary to the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he explains that these kinds of prayers are offered by devotees who have not yet attained bhava. And he gives the example, and some of you may know this prayer, Yuvati nam yata yuni, yunam che yuvatao yata, mano bidamate tadvan, mano me ramatam twayi. O Lord, as the mind of young girls take pleasure in thinking of a young boy, and the minds of young boys take pleasure in thinking of a young girl, may my mind take pleasure in thinking of you. Very nice prayer. And Dainya Bodhika, Prabhupada defines in the Nectar of Devotion as humbly submitting oneself. Another definition is admission of worthlessness. Dainya is like this idea of Dina. We know, some of you may know the name of Krishna is famous as Dina Bandhu, the friend of the most fallen, of the most wretched. And this Dainya is a mood that the devotees cultivate in praying to Krishna. This famous prayer of Madhavendra Puri, this famous verse that he was hearing and chanting, and when he left his body, and it's recorded in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I dina dayardranata he matadanata kadavaloki se vidiyam tadaloka katadam dayata brahmati kingaromyaham. This is actually a prayer uttered by Srimati Radharani. Oh my dear Lord, you whose heart is melting for the most wretched. Dina Daya Ardra. Ardra is melting and Daya is mercy. Dina Nata, hey, oh my Lord, oh Master of Mathura, when shall I see you again? So this place is Krishna in Mathura, that means Radharani is in Vrindavan, so it's in this separation mood. Vidiyam Chodaloka Katadam Dayata Brahmati Kinkaromyaham. Because of my not seeing you, my heart has grown very disturbed. What shall I do now? A very important prayer. Lord Chaitanya went into ecstasy when he heard this prayer. And it's described as the fountainhead of like so many moods of Lord Chaitanya in separation. So humbly submitting oneself. In other words, painting a very kind of bleak picture of one's own condition and then submitting them to the Lord to help. And a perfect example of this kind of prayer is Prabhupada's favorite song. He told us it was his favorite song, Hari Hari Bipalai, which I'll just read the translation here. O Lord Hari, I've wasted my life. Although I have taken this rare human form of birth, I have failed to worship Radha and Krishna, and thus I have knowingly drunk poison. The treasure of divine love in Goloka Vrindavan has descended as the congregational chanting of Lord Hari's holy names. This is a famous line, Goloka era prema dana Hari nama sankirtana. Why did my attraction for that chanting never come about? Day and night my heart burns in the fire of the poison of worldliness, and I have not accepted the means for relieving it. Lord Krishna, the son of the king of Braj, became the son of Shachi, and Balaram became Nitai. The holy name delivered all those souls who were lowly and wretched. The two sinners, Jagai and Madai, are evidence of this. O Lord Krishna, son of Nanda, accompanied by the daughter of Vrishabhanu, please be merciful to me now. Narottam Das says, O Lord, please do not push me away from your reddish lotus feet, for who is my beloved except for you? So this is, just contemplate this a minute. This is Srila Prabhupada singing this song, Narottam Das writing it, two devotees who are at the highest levels of prema bhakti. And yet they enter into this mood because this sense of feeling helpless and hopeless without Krishna's darshan and his mercy brings about a very special and sweet and intense type of ecstasy. So we can sing these songs. We have in the songbook, read Srila Prabhupada's commentary on it, and enter into this mood of prayerfulness. And this is really essential for our advancement in devotional service. And we're going to discuss either today or next session, chanting Hare Krishna prayerfully. That this is something Srila Prabhupada was asked, of course, at the beginning, what's the meaning of Hare Krishna mantra when we chant, and it says, oh my dear Radha, oh my dear Krishna, please engage me in your service. So it's a desire for service, and that should inform our chanting of the holy name. In his Shikshastika, okay, the Lord Chaitanya expresses the Dainya mood in the second and third verses. So I'm going to activate my little Tambura app here, and I want to thank Ananda Gauranga Prabhu for it. I've used it every day. Now, of course, it doesn't work, as you probably discovered. There's a delay, so we can't really chant in unison. But if you put yourselves on mute, I'm gonna chant one line at a time, and you can repeat and get into this. Nam Namakadi Bakudani Dasarva Shaktis Tatra Pitani Yamitak Smaranena Kala Etadrishi Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaivam Idashamihadninanuragaha. So many of these poems, these prayers I'm sharing with you, I did some versification, so I'm going to give you those when I have them. Krishna, Govinda, and Keshava too. Your names have no end, and in each of them you have invested your potencies, leaving none out. Whenever we want, we can chant them without the slightest restriction of time or of place. O Lord, who can fathom your infinite grace? Yet I am so wretched, devoid of all shame, that I haven't developed a taste for your name. So just see the way where this prayer is. Many of you are familiar with the Shikshastika. In the first verse, Lord Chaitanya, through the medium of 7 metaphors, he gives a progressive understanding of the different benefits of chanting, great benefit. And then the question, may arise, well, why doesn't everyone take it up and chant? So Lord Chaitanya, he places himself, he takes his role of the supplicant, that due to our stubborn, Maya, and our refusal to surrender, and Krishna is so kind. There's no hard and fast rules. He's given us numerous names, the Hare Krishna mantra, and yet we still avoid that because of our false ego, our So he's praying here. In the next couple of verses, he show us how to pray. We're going to do a study of the Shikshastika maybe in one of these sessions. So, here's the next verse. Trinad pisuni chena, todod pisahishnuna, manina manadena, kirtani aksadahari. More humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree. To think all praise belongs to others, none belongs to me. These qualities attract the Lord to bless one with the power to chant his name incessantly until the final hour. Now, this verse is perhaps the most famous of all of the Shikshastika verses. And we know, if you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you'll find that Krishna's Kaviraj is encouraging us to wear this verse around our neck. In other words, to make it a part of our every breath practically. And it enables us to chant constantly. And just see what the meaning of it is. To really feel ourselves as humble as a blade of grass, and that means no false pride, and tolerant as a tree. Oftentimes, in many religions, people ardently pray for relief of pain, for financial difficulty. We know the 4 ways in which one will approach the Lord in this 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna enumerates. But that is not going to produce, that kind of approach of the Lord does not result in pure love of God in and of itself. It may be a doorway. Krishna says they're sukriti, they're pious, but we have to graduate to this platform, to be tolerant of any difficulties that come, and to continue to pray to the Lord through the holy name for simply service unto his lotus feet. That's what we're looking for. No desire for name or fame, and giving all honor to everyone else. So this is a very important basis of our prayerfulness. And now subsequent prayers are offered in this dainya mood. The next one, of course, is famous. What he doesn't want any wealth, nadanam sundarim, wealth and women, followers, the fruits of mundane piety, liberation from this world of limitless anxiety. For me, O Lord, these common goals have not the slightest worth. Let me serve you purely now and in each future birth. So that's, he's not even praying for liberation. So these are the common things that people pray for, but he wants the idea of service. But this particular verse is also in the dainya mood. This next one here. I'll chant and leave room for you to respond. Aidi ainandatanuja kinkaram apatitam mam vishame bhavambudho kripaya tava pada pankaja stitadhuli sadrisham vachindaya. I'm sorry, I didn't leave enough room. Let's try it again. Ainandatanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavambudho kripaya tava pada pankaja stitaduli sadvisham vachindaya. Your servant for eternity, I lost my true identity and fell into this horrid sea of birth and death, O Lord. O Nanda's son, please hear my plea. By your sweet grace, consider me a speck of dust upon your lotus feet forevermore. So one thing I wanted to point out, and that is that we know that this Kali Yuga is not very good for self-realization. Right at the beginning of Bhagavatam, the 1st chapter, we hear Prayanalpa Yeshak Sabhyav Kalavasman Yugenida Jana Manda Samanda Matayo Manda Bhagya Yupadrata. First is, we generally don't live very long. We're lazy in the matter of spiritual advancement or yoga, Manda. And if we happen to be interested, Sumanda Matayo, we become misguided by so many cheating yogis and bogus gurus and things like that. Manda Bhagya, and therefore we're generally very unfortunate, and besides our minds are always disturbed. So what hope is there for us? this is, it turns out that this disqualifications of the Kali Yuga make us more qualified to get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya when we enter into this Dainya mood. And that's why it said in the 11th canto, shortly after the verse, the famous verse about Lord Chaitanya Avatar, Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam Sangopangasta Parshadam. The 9 young Genjas are explaining the different avatars, and they come to Lord Chaitanya. Many are familiar with this verse. He's always chanting the syllables Krishna, Krishna. He's of the category of Krishna, not different from Krishna. But his complexion is not blackish, it's golden. Sango Pangasta Parshadam, he's always with his intimate and circle of devotees, and those who are actually acting like his limbs, and those who are wise, who are intelligent, will worship him by the means of Sankirtan. So shortly after it says, this Kali Yuga in which Lord Chaitanya appears is especially worshipped by those who are Aryans and who know the essence of things. Kaling Sabajayantyaya Guna Gyasa Bhaginaha Yatra Sangirtane Naiva Sarva Swarto Bilabhyate. This idea of Swarta, the Sva-arta, the goal of the soul. We have so many false artas, chiefly money, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, material wealth and prestige and so many things that we value. But what's really of value to the soul is reconnecting with Krishna and regaining our lost love for him and going back to Godhead. So here he says that this Kali Yuga is very, very auspicious for that, because just by the means of Sankirtan, all of these goals can be achieved. Now, Sankirtan means chanting the holy name, and this Krishna's teaching us in the form of Lord Chaitanya in his Shikshastika, the mood of chanting the holy name, how we can successfully chant. So because we're so disqualified, because it's such a difficult age, dangers at every step, it's very difficult for anybody to get into the mood of confident enjoyment and peace. Everything is always disturbed all the time. So in that mood, we can really feel our helplessness and our dainya, our wretched condition, and call out from the bottom of our hearts. And I wanted to refer here to one verse by Queen Kunti in her prayers. We could do a whole session on just her prayers about chanting the holy name. Janmai Shaya Shuta Shibir, Edamana Madakuman, Naiva Hartibidatam Vaitwama Kinchana Gochara. That, oh my dear Lord, you are very easily approached, but only by those who are not progressively being intoxicated by these 4 main opulences of good birth, of wealth, and education and beauty. Because those who are intoxicated in this way, who are after these things and absorbed in them, they cannot call upon you in deep feeling. I don't have the reference to this verse, but you'll easily find it. I can give it later, the actual number. But in the purport, Prabhupada talks about how the holy name is available to anyone and anyone can chant. But there is a quality to such chanting. And the success in the chanting depends on our attitude, and that attitude is nourished by prayers and songs and things which remind us of our helpless condition, hopeless condition, and that we can call on Krishna from the bottom of our hearts through the holy name. So this is very much the essence of prayer. Is what is a prayer? We're placing ourselves in a position of supplication to the Supreme Lord, and we're asking something from him. Now, oftentimes the prayers or the song, this Dainya Bodhika song that we read, the devotee actually describes his own wretched condition and helpless condition, and then calls upon the Lord with deep feeling for, and this is the key element, what are you praying for? And all of our acharyas, they're praying for service, they're praying for pure love. There's many prayers, I have some here, will share that is simply praying for pure love for Krishna. So that, in a sense, if we take advantage of it, this Kali Yuga is the most advantageous, because Lord Chaitanya appeared, and we can see how helpless we are without the shelter of Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet and Krishna's lotus feet. Okay. Now here, there's a whole song that I'm going to share with you, and this is Krishna Bhavantam Vande. I forget what Rupa Goswami calls it, but it's from Rupa Goswami's Stavamala. He gives a song embodying the sweet Dainya mood. Srila Prabhupada translates the song in his purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 1:11-26. I'm going to read this wonderful translation. The pure devotees are always hankering after the lotus feet of the Lord, which have a kind of honey that is transcendently relished by the devotees. They are like the bees who are always after the honey. Srila Rupa Goswami, the great devotee Acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, has sung a song about this lotus honey, comparing himself to the bee. O my Lord, quote, O my Lord Krishna, I beg to offer my prayers unto you. My mind is like the bee, and it is after some honey. Kindly, therefore, give my bee mind a place at your lotus feet, which are the resources for all transcendental honey. I know that even big demigods like Brahma do not see the rays of the nails of your lotus feet, even though they are engaged in deep meditation for years together. Still, O infallible one, my ambition is such, for you are very merciful to your surrendered devotees. O Madhava, I know also that I have no genuine devotion for the service of your lotus feet. But because your lordship is inconceivably powerful, you can do what is impossible to be done. Your lotus feet deride even the nectar of the heavenly kingdom, and therefore I am very much attracted by them. O Supreme Eternal, please therefore let my mind be fixed at your lotus feet, so that eternally I may be able to relish the taste of your transcendental service. Now I put this song into a poem, and since I have your attention, I'm going to sing this song, and you can sing along if you like. I'm just going to adjust this a minute so that it's in time. Okay. All right. Sorry. I assume you can all hear that okay. Hey Krishna Bhavandam Vande Manmana Samadkarma Payidi Padapankachamakarande. Oh Krishna, dearest Lord, I bow to you and then entreat. Please place to be my restless mind in the honey of your lotus feet. Yadapi samadhishu vidadapi pashyati nalavakanagamricham. Yinamacham in the Shamitavacha, the Tadapi Kripabuddhavichim. Though even Brahma, deep in trance, cannot achieve his goal, a glimpse of your effulgent toenails, soothing to the soul. Because, O Lord, I've heard of your compassion's wondrous waves. That very vision is the only boon my poor heart craves. Krishna Bhavandam Vande Manmana Samanakadama Payaniti Padapankachamakarande. Oh Krishna, dearest Lord, I bow to you and then entreat. Please place to be my restless mind in the honey of your lotus feet. Bhaktidanchidi yandapi madhava nattvai mamatilla matri Padameshwar tata pitavadika durgata kadana badhatri. Oh Madhava, despite great effort, I have not attained a drop of pure devotion. This has brought me untold pain. Yet though it seems impossible to ever fill this need, your monumental power gives me hope I shall succeed. Krishna Bhavandam Vande Manmanasamapakadama Payinitipadapam Kachamakarande. Oh Krishna, dearest Lord, I bow to you and then entreat. Please place to be my restless mind in the honey of your lotus feet. I am a beloved the Yadisanat and the Kaladad of the Sambharam. Nivasati Nityam Mahamati Nindini Vindan Muranimasaram. Today, eternal Lord, please fix my mind upon your feet. so I may taste unending mellows, wonderful and sweet. I pray that for eternity my mind may there reside, to relish luscious honey that defeats ambrosia's pride. Krishna bhavandam vande manmanasamana kadama payanityapadapam kachamakadande. O Krishna, dearest Lord, I bow to you and then entreat, please keep the bee of my restless mind and the honey of your lotus feet. Hare Krishna. So there's the prayers in the Dainya mood. The devotee we see there in this wonderful song by Rupa Goswami. By the way, one note about these songs. In the Savamala, there's a whole section of songs. And one of them is the very famous song we know from the songbook, Radhe Dhamma Jaya Jaya Madhava Daide. That's also in there. And I discovered there and from other reading that he always puts in the last stanza of his songs the word Sanatana. Now, Sanatana can mean different things. It could mean eternal Lord, or it's a way of honoring Sanatana Goswami, who we regarded as his Shiksha Guru. So just one note. And all of these literatures, if you really want them, I don't know if I sent it to Ananda yet, but I can send the whole Stavamala there, and you can relish it. So now we're just going to share some prayers from the Srimad Bhagavatam, some of my favorite prayers. And obviously not of all of them I put into poems, some of them I did. But just a sample. And Bhagavatam is filled with prayers. Prayers of Queen Kunti, prayers of Prahlad, Krura, who's known for his prayers. He's the Acharya for prayers. And we can take those who, begin by choosing some that really inspire us and memorizing them and uttering them before the Lord, either a picture or the deity, like that. So these are some of my favorites, and I'll just share. We'll have a little explanation of them. Let's see. I'm going to go back to. Sorry. Okay. All right. Give me a second here. All right. All right. So this is one of Prahlad's prayers to Lord Nrsingadeva in the 9th chapter, 7th canto. Yasmat priya priya viyoga sayoga janma shokagnina sakalayo nishadayamanaha dukkaushadam tatapi dukkamatantiyaham bhuman vamami vadame tabadasya yogam. O Great One, O Supreme Lord, due to misidentifying myself with the body, I have been put into a most regrettable position, contacting displeasing circumstances and being separated from pleasing circumstances, on heavenly and hellish planets, as if burning in a fire of lamentation. Although I've tried many remedies to get out of this miserable life, all such material remedies are more miserable than the miseries themselves. Therefore, I think that the only remedy is to engage in your service. Kindly instruct me in that service. So this is a certain format for the prayers that Prahlad has and others, where you paint a very bleak picture, and then at the end you ask for what will solve the problem, and that is, of course, service to the Lord. And this is a wonderful description of the material condition in the first two lines. Priya, apriya, viyoga, sayoga. The priya is the things that are dear to us, our own body, our relations, our wealth, everything. This is viyoga. This is taken away from us, either suddenly or by the force of time eventually. And the things which are apriya, which are abominable, which we try to avoid, are forced upon us, sayoga. And this gives birth, janma, to the fire of lamentation. And not just in this life, but sakala yonishu, all different species and all different situations were burning in this fire of lamentation. And so we try to have some remedy. It's called the dukkha aushadhi, a remedy for the dukkha, but that turns out to be worse than the dukkha itself, dukkham. And all because atadhyaham, I'm thinking of something I'm not, namely this body. due to misidentifiting myself with the body. So this is the perfect description of the Dainya Bodhika, painting a very bleak picture, and then praying to the Lord to relieve the misery by giving us Dasa Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. Now this is another prayer of Prahlad. Now remember, at the end of these prayers, Lord Nrsingadev, who was so, loved him so much because he was so surrendered and pure devotee, he said, "Oh, I'll offer you whatever you want." And Prahlad complained. He said, "I'm not some vanik, I'm some merchant. I'm serving you for some. I don't want anything." But then he said, "But if you do want to offer me something," he asked for two things. This is the one that's less famous here. Yadi dasasi me kamam vadang tang vadadashabam kamanam rindisam roham vabadastu vanevanam. Oh my Lord, best of the givers of benediction, if you would all want to bestow a desirable benediction upon me, then I pray from your Lordship that within the core of my heart there be no material desires. This is a prayer that we can all offer to the Lord. And I think it's the next prayer is even more famous. Prahlad has a series of prayers in the fifth canto also, in a chapter called The Residents of Jambudvipa Offer Prayers. I have a story about this one. This is the one here. It's the same prayer, really, same content. I had an opportunity to work on the book production marathon in 1975 in Los Angeles. The famous 17 books in 2 months marathon. Some of you may regularly visit dandavats.com. There's an ongoing, I don't know if they're still doing it, interview with those who have participated with that. And the second one, actually, I heard the whole thing was mostly Ramaswar Prabhu, who was in charge, and he tells a wonderful account of all of the details of that in a very, transcendental way. So I'm in the middle of that. And so I'm working on the prayers of Prahlad, and I worked on this verse, and I'll chant it for you. It's not really a verse, it's prose, but many devotees memorize it because of what comes at the end there with this little note you see at the bottom. Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya Namaste Jastejase Avadavim Bhavavardhanakavardhan Sakarma Shayan Randaya Randayatamo Grasa Grasa Om Swaha Abhyamatmani Bhuishta Om Shraum. That last word is the seed syllable for mantras for Lord Nrsingadev. It's also there, Om Reem Shraum Ugram Vira Mahavishnam. This is another famous verse about Lord Nrsingadev. So I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Nrsingadev, the source of all power. O my Lord, who possess nails and teeth just like thunderbolts, kindly vanquish our demon-like desires for fruit of activity in this material world. Please appear in our hearts and drive away our ignorance, so that by your mercy we may become fearless in the struggle for existence in this material world. And note, Srila Prabhupada writes in his purport to this verse, at the very end of the purport, any devotee aspiring to be free of material desires should offer his respectful prayers to the Nrsingadev, as Prahlad Maharaj did in this verse. And so right there, right from the manuscript, before the book was published, I memorized this prose passage, because Prabhupada says, if you want to be free of material desires. So this is the kind of prayer we can offer the Lord Nrsingadev, to please destroy. Really, he's saying that, with your thunderbolt-like nails and teeth, please rip apart, our material desires in our heart like that. Okay. Now this is a prayer by Uddhava to Lord Krishna. In the middle of the Uddhava Gita, Krishna is speaking for several chapters in the 11th canto. And just as Arjuna has questions when Krishna speaks to her, and Parikshit has questions with Shukadev, so here it's not a question, but he's simply encouraging Krishna to go on speaking, and he describes again his own position in a very dainya mood. Dashtam janam sampatitam bilesmin kalahina chudna sukoru darsham samudharainam kripaya pavargyar vachobirasin shamahanubhava. O Almighty Lord, please be merciful and uplift this hopeless living entity who has fallen into the dark hole of material existence, where the snake of time has bitten him. In spite of such abominable conditions, this poor living entity has tremendous desire to relish the most insignificant material happiness. Please save me, my Lord, by pouring down the nectar of your instructions, which awaken one to spiritual freedom. Prabhupada's wonderful translation. This Dashtam Janam, this person is being bitten by the snake of time, Kalahina. We're all being bitten. But yet, Shudra Sukha Urutarsham. Urutarsham is I still am maintaining this strong desire to enjoy insignificant sense gratification. Shudra means, foolish. So please lift me up. Some Udarainam, completely take me up out of this hole, this snake hole, this bile. And out of your mercy, speak to me the words which bring liberation. Vachoba asincha, sprinkle them upon me. Wonderful prayer. And of course, what would be complete without Queen Kunti's prayers? This is my favorite one. I'll say, you say. Faime hananya vishaya mati modapate sakrit vatamun bahataradha gange bau gumadhanvati. O Madhu's Lord, please ever fill my mind with thoughts of thee, not any other kind. As Ganges torrent flows into the sea, let all my love flow constantly to thee. Hare Krishna. So Prabhupada has a wonderful purport. This is the essence of all the prayers, to pray that our minds will be fixed on Krishna, then our hearts will be filled with love for Krishna. Now this is a prayer by Vitrasura, who was actually Chitraketu in the guise of a demon. He was cursed because he insulted Lord Shiva in the presence of Parvati. You know the story. And he accepted the prayer, accepted the curse, and he became Vitrasura, this fearsome demon, and did battle with Indra. And Indra was actually doing him a great service, was removing this demon-like body and sending him back to Godhead. So while he's lying there on the ground, I think he was, mortally wounded, he offers several wonderful prayers, and this is my favorite. Ahang Hare Tava Paraika Mula Dasano Daso Bhavitasmi Bhuyaha Monaksmareta Supate Gunangste Punita Bhakarma Karotu Kaya. O my Lord, a Supreme Personality of Godhead, may I again be able to be a servant of your eternal servants who find shelter only at your lotus feet. O Lord of my life, may I again become their servant so that my mind may always think of your transcendental attributes, my words always glorify those attributes, and my body always engage in the loving service of your Lordship. So this is a species of prayer. There's a category where you're praying for association. And Dhruva Maharaj, of course, he has his famous prayer when he finally gets the darshan of Vishnu. And the last line Prabhupada often quotes, Svamin Kritartos Mivanam Diache, that I don't want anything else. I was performing these severe austerities in order to get this wonderful kingdom. But now I'm seeing you, I'm realizing that was just like broken shards of glass compared to the wonderful jewel of your personal darshan. And so I don't want anything else, my Lord. So, but that prayer is not in the Bhagavatam. But there's another one, which I think I have here, that where he's praying for the association of devotees, just like this. And then we have, this is it. This is Dhruva's prayers in the 4th chapter. The reference there is blocked, but it's in the 4th canto. Bhakti muhu pavahatam trahime pasango Bhuyarananda mahatam malashayanam Yenanja sobanamaru vasanam bhavabdhim Neshe bhavan gunakatam tapanam mattaha. O unlimited Lord, Kindly bless me so that I may associate with great devotees who engage in your transcendental loving service constantly as the waves of a river constantly flow. Such transcendental devotees are completely situated in an uncontaminated state of life. By the process of devotional service, I shall surely be able to cross the nascent ocean of material existence, which is filled with the waves of blazing fire-like dangers. It will be very easy for me, for I am becoming mad to hear about your transcendental qualities and pastimes, which are eternally existent. And of course, if you want to hear about Krishna, you need to get in the association of devotees who are eager to hear and chant. The four Kumars pray to Lord Vishnu. This was after they cursed giant Vijay, and Lord Vishnu came to the gate. He heard the commotion. And when the four Kumars smelled the fragrance of the Tulsi manjaris that was spread over the lotus feet of the Lord, they underwent a transformation in heart. They'd been Brahmavadis, even though they were at Vaikuntha. They couldn't get in. They weren't yet devotees, really. But they became pure devotees then. And this is one of the prayers of regret, because they cursed devotees to go, to become Haranyakashipu and Nyach, etc. Kamam bhavak savajana nidayeshu nakstat cheto libandhyadunate padayo rameta vachastanas tulasivan haditain vrishobha Puryetate gunaganai hadikarna randraha. A birth in hell my sins will surely warrant, yet please, O Lord, bestow this blessing rare, that all my thoughts, like bees drunk in the torrent of fragrance swirling round your lovely pair of lotus feet, may relish deep remembrance of your sweet pastimes, name and form so fair, that all my words, like Tulsi's leaves so tender, may glory in being offered unto you, and that my ears may ever find fulfillment in hearing of your traits and deeds anew. Now this is a wonderful prayer by the Brijbasis. And after Uddhava had visited Vrindavan and he saw the incredible devotion of the Mother Yashoda and Nanda in separation, and the cowherd boys, and especially the gopis, this is just before he goes back to Dwarka, and so many gifts they gave him for Krishna. And so this is the simple prayer of the residents of Vrindavan. Manaso vrittayo naksyu Krishna padam bhujashraya Vacho bidayinir nam kayas tat pavanadishu karmabir brahmyamananam yatta krapi shvarechaya Mangala Charitar Dhanai Vatirna Krishna Ishware. Nanda and the other cowards said, may our mental functions always take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. May our words always chant his names, and may our bodies always bow down to him and serve him. Wherever we are made to wander about this world by the Supreme Lord's will, in accordance with the reactions to our fruitive work, may our good works and charity always grant us love for Lord Krishna. So now here's several prayers. I don't know if we're running out of time. Ananda, you tell me when we should stop. I have a few more.
We are okay, Prabhu. So even if you have to go a little over,
okay.
we're happy.
Yeah, there's a few more slides here. So these are some of my favorites from the writings of the Acharyas. It's very appropriate. The Chaitanya Chandramrita, with Lord Chaitanya's appearance day coming up in 1 week. This is one of the favorite ones. There's a chapter, it goes by chapters, and this is called, the author laments his pitiable condition, very much in the Dainya mood. This is all these prayers are in Dainya mood. Sangsara dukkha jalado patitasya kama krodhadi nakkhamakarai kavali kutasya durvasana negaditasya narashrayasya Chaitanya Chandamama Dehi Padavalambam I have fallen into the painful ocean of repeated birth and death, and am being devoured alive by the sharks and crocodiles of lust, anger, greed, and so on. Chained by my sinful desires, I have no shelter. O Lord Chaitanya Chandra, please rescue me. Please give me the shelter of your lotus feet. This is the same chapter. Kala Kali Balana Indriya Vairi Varga Shri Bhakti Margahi Kantaka Koti Ruddha Ha ha Kvayami Vikalak Kimahankaromi Chaitanya Chandam Harinajaki Pankaroshi. It is now the age of Kali, and my enemies, my senses, have become very strong. Also, the splendid path of pure devotional service is blocked by millions of brambles of false philosophies. I am weak and agitated. Alas, alas, where can I go? O Lord Chaitanya Chandra, if you do not now give me your mercy, what can I do? Okay. So this is not so much in the mode of Dainya, but these are just some selections from other prayers. This is from the Pranjavali. The Pranjavali is not by Rupa Goswami. There's some verses in there by him, but it's his nectar file. These are his favorite verses arranged in different categories, and they're written by different authors. This one is by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And it's a very interesting meter. Every syllable is heavy or long. Barhapidam maulam bimbrad vangshi naran atanvan nana kalpa shri sampanno gopastri bhi sambita netranandam kovan Krishna tvam chet asman vikshetha sarve kama sampadyeran asmakam hridyasina. So I try to put it into the same meter. Peacock plumes bedeck your crown, and chanting songs with flute you sing, wearing lovely ornaments while standing in the gopis' ring. Dear most Krishna, eyes delight, if you would kindly glance our way. All our heart's desires would be fulfilled on this most blessed day. And this is from Rupa Goswami's Leela Chanda. This is a wonderful summary of Krishna's Vrindavan Leela in all the most wonderful verses. Chanda means the special verses. So this is one of my favorites I put into a poem. Manasita panidushte, labdha patos midushte, Dimana rupe, hanta samsara kupe, Achita nikala raksha hita mudhara daksham, Upanagi mamahaste, bhakti rajam namaste. Fallen in the deep and dark and dirty well of Maya, threatened by the snake of lust, whose venom burns like fire, I bow to you and plead, O Lord, whose strength is ne'er in doubt, place the rope of bhakti in my hands and pull me out. I sometimes quote this in the class, and I point out that this is our real situation here. And but Krishna has lowered down this rope of bhakti. What is our job? To just hold on to that rope means to follow the principles carefully and become serious about devotional service. So Krishna will pull us out of this difficult material world. And here's another one where he's praying for love. I'm not sure who wrote it because it's blocked, but it's again from Pranjavali. No, oh, I'm sorry, Rupa Goswami Govinda Virodavali. It's by Rupa Goswami. Avatang satamandra mandare, Antadoni ne chutukor pandare, Navakum kamapunda pindare, Vatadasta mamagopa kundare. Delightful blooms adorn his ears, whose charm and beauty none can gauge. The gopi's eyes can no more leave his form than birds can leave a cage. With kumkum spread upon his limbs, a fair complexion he enjoys. I pray my heart will fill with love for Krishna, best of cowherd boys. This is another one from Govinda Virodavali, also praying for pure love. Pujango to Puchandaga, Spurudakanda Chudankure, Nidanka Chadrakanchala, Brahmina Bodha bring up Brahme, Patanga Duhitastati, Vanakuti the Kedi Priye, Podaspudutu Mohus, Trahimokunda Shudharati. You wear the best of crests, a crown of perfect peacock plumes. Your dancing glances stun the bees meandering midst the blooms. You relish love play in a cottage by Kalindi's shore. O Krishna, may pure love for you be mine forevermore. And this is one from the Utkalika Bolari, which is similar to Raghunath Das Goswami's Vilap Kusumanjali. It's his, I think Rupa Goswami, I read one that is Rupa Goswami's final poem, and this is near the end of it. And I offer this prayer every morning to Radhagir and Hari, the local deities here. Pashupala Venindya Nandana Vadamitam Maharati Yuvam Babatu Panayo Bave Bave Babatori Patam Gujeshme. O Radha Krishna, children of the best of coward men, this single boon I beg from you again and yet again. In all the countless births my endless sins will make me meet. May all my love flow toward your luscious, lustrous lotus feet. Again, the Dainya mood there, you can see. And this is the last one I wrote. There's no Sanskrit. It's a paean to Srila Prabhupada, a prayer. It has a prayer in it here. O Prabhupada, we hail the day when you appear, just like a ray of Krishna's vast effulgent sprite, to give this blind world back its sight. We thank you from the bottom of our heart and pray with deepest love that we may serve your lotus feet in every circumstance we meet. As years go by and books go out, we see what life is all about, to serve your mission and our Lord's by spreading wide your sacred words. As well, you want us all to strive to let those words direct our lives. The safest path will lead us home, no more in Maya's realm to roam. And that ends our presentation for today. Ananda?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. These are extremely purifying for all of us. And, many of these verses that you've taken from, Leela Chanda and Govinda Viridavali and Utkalika Valhari, we don't even know these existed. So, and you've taken the essence of all these wonderful verses and you've given it to us in this 1 hour. And, for those of the devotees who have joined us late, of course, we will have this video posted as well. So Prabhu, I know this is going to be, continuing. We'll have a few more classes as well, so we can work on scheduling the classes, and we'll make sure all the devotees are aware of it. So Prabhu, as devotees are, thinking of any questions, we have about 8 more minutes. Just a general question, Prabhu. So, you've extracted these wonderful verses from all these scriptures, and so Srimad Bhagavatam and all these other wonderful literature. So now, do we? I think you answered this question. Do we chant the same, or do the devotees need to come up with their own so that they have some connection, or do we have the connection? To these verses and then memorize it as it is and recite before the deities?
If someone is, it really is kind of, they're protected, meaning that if you're inspired to read them, what to speak of, memorize them and chant before the deities, then that's the qualification. It's not that, there's nothing very intimate here. I mean, there's nothing, Radha Krishna, gopis in the forest. These are just prayers that if you're inspired, then take it as far as you can. I can provide for you. One thing I wanted to mention, the word by word meanings, I find essential, for these things. And I have all of them here. I can provide them all to you, Ananda. You can share them. So that if someone is into, like that verse that probably hardly anyone is familiar with, Pashupala Vadanyanandano, that verse that I chant before the deities. There's nothing in there that's intimate. Everyone is eligible to take that and run with it. There's, of course, anything in the Bhagavatam, especially Queen Kunti's prayers. So it's just a question of desire. Just like that prayer by Uddhava. He says, I'm threatened by the snake of time with destruction. I'm in this snake hole. And yet I'm still troubled by, I have a very strong thirst for these insignificant sense gratification. So Krishna consciousness is the process which transfers our desire, transfers our interest from Maya, from matter, to Krishna. And one of the ways of doing it is by taking these prayers. And even if, it's like, okay, it's time to learn the prayer. You know, it's my duty. Just like we you know may take up Krishna consciousness, and there's certain things that are regulated and maybe a little difficult at first. But if you take the trouble, soon those things become a source of great joy for you. Just like the trouble to memorize verses or to begin to memorize verses. You know, it's often sometimes the words, oh, I'll never be able to do that. But if you want to and you work at it, and you know, I can help anyone who really wants to learn, then you eventually start to get something down, and you appreciate the value of it, and it becomes a whole culture. So I don't know. There's nothing. Certainly, the ones I gave you here, there's nothing restricted. It's just a question of desire, and if you want it, then it's all available now. You know. So
Thank you,
that's my
Prabhu.
answer to that.
So Prabhu, do you I think you already hinted on it's you can give some guidance on memorizing verses. So maybe if you can just give us you know, for the benefit of devotees, you know, because you have memorized like unbelievable unlimited number of verses. So you know, like we don't have very young devotees here, at least I can see from the participant list. But does age matter? Can they start memorizing maybe some verses now? And maybe would you suggest suggesting something? Maybe we can find out if some devotees will put their hand up and recite that verse that you want us to memorize between now and the next class. Maybe that might be an impetus for them.
Why just one? The whole week, or whatever. Whenever we have our next class. Next week is Gorpinin. The if there's an interest, I can help you. You know, I do have a Dravida's. I came up with, I think, 6 steps. You know, easy memorization of verses, and it involves learning how to pronounce the letters. You know, from the Sanskrit pronunciation guide, and then there's the question of meter, which is a whole culture in and of itself. But I have a simple guide in that too. It's part of it, and some sample verses. So we can have a session just on that. You know, the basic principle. I mean, it's not a mystery. If you want to memorize something, you repeat it. You know, if you read it to yourself. It helps, especially in these kind of things, if you want to memorize, to have a partner and to be sharing, because it becomes a great interaction, full of, you know, transcendental joy, to share verses and to remind each other of the verses. There's verses about that process. And the 11th canto, again, the 9 Yogendras, I forget which Yogendra is speaking, but he's describing Parasparanu Katadam Pavanam Bhagavad Yasha Mitorati Mitastushta Nivrita Mitaratmana. Devotees get together, Parasparanu Katadam, just like he says, Bodhi Yantak Parasparam, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita in 10.9, that they get together and they glorify me. So here it says, Parasparanu Katadam, they speak the katha about Krishna, who's the great purifier of impurities. Pavanam Bhagavad Yasha, the purifying glory, Yasha, fame of Bhagavan. And what's the result? Mitas means mutually. They mutually experience satisfaction. Mitas tushtir, mito ratir, they develop affection, transcendental affection for each other. Mitas tushtir nivritam, and they nourish each other's detachment from matter. In other words, this is how bhakti flourishes. Satam prasangan mama virya samvidam. So my experiences in when, you know, in the days when I was, you know, living in a big community with a lot of devotees, find some, you know, devotees who are interested in memorizing. Of course, now we have the internet, so you can find unlimited devotees if you want to. And you just culture them. You decide, okay, we're going to memorize these 3 verses. You know, you can start in the Bhagavad Gita and so forth. Okay, I think I read that note. And you have a program, you know, and it creates a little peer pressure, so you feel you have to do it. And then you get together and you share the verses that you memorized, and before long, you know, you've got a repertoire. You've got some, you know, like the chapter, the last part of the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is nice. It describes, the qualities of a pure devotee. There's 4 or 5 verses there. So in this way, you culture, and then you have a subject matter for discussion when you meet. So we can do that. Those who, it's not hard. You have to just get over the hump that is impossible and difficult. It's true. I had a certain propensity for this. I was a musician, and it wasn't just any musician. I was a flutist, and any wind instrument you play, you have to develop the tongue. So you're going to ta 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 ta. And he says you can give us some homework to memorize before your next class. Did you see that note there, Ananda?
Yeah. That's what I wanted to ask. I asked you, if there is a verse that you want to suggest based on maybe Srimad Bhagavatam, where they can refer to that verse, not from a,
All right. Well, we have this slideshow here. Should I pick one out, one or two out?
Yeah, something from Srimad Bhagavatam that you covered today.
The prayers of Prahlad, the prayers of Kunti. There's so many beautiful prayers here. All right, so why don't we start with the prayers of Queen Kunti? This 1.8.42. And you don't have to, memorize my English there, but it's there because Prabhupada's is perfect. You can use that. And keep it easy. Oh, I'm going down. I want to go up. Let's see. Well, it's up to you. I mean, this one by Prahlad is fairly well known. Why don't we just do these 3? This first one, first from Bhagavatam, Yasmat Priya Priya Viyoga Sayoga Janma, which is really, it's anyway. I like it. I don't know if it's too difficult.
So that is Srimad Bhagavatam 7.9.17.
Yeah.
And then 1.8.42 that you mentioned.
Yeah, the prayers of prayer of Queen Kunti.
Yeah, and then one more.
Let's do one more. All right, let's see. This is a great prayer. This is Vritrasura's prayer. It's very sweet, and it's not difficult. It's not that long. Aham Hare Tavaparai Kamula Dasanadas. The Sanskrit is very easy, yeah.
Which is 6.11.24.
24, yeah. And I think, I don't know if I need to record them again. You have this recording. You heard me? So,
yeah.
So we're all set with that, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be fantastic, Prabhu. So thank you so much, Prabhu. So this is wonderful, where we are getting purified by these fascinating verses, and we will schedule more classes for you to go through more verses. But maybe in between those sessions, we can also have the session on how to memorize verses, because that'll give us good insight in memorizing verses. And also,
I can run through. If you don't have it, or maybe it's buried in your hard drive, I'll send you again my document with Dravida 6 easy steps for memorization.
Yeah.
And then, okay, go ahead.
That'll be fantastic. And I think before we close, I know you had mentioned this before, other than the spiritual benefits of memorizing and reciting, is there any personal advantage from scientific point of view for health, from health perspective, memorizing verses?
That sounds like a loaded question. I think you know the answer to it. Well, I think I can safely say we're all getting older. We may be 40, but we're still getting older. So it definitely helps the brain to stay nimble. I read a study once, a paper. They did a study of ladies in a convent, older ladies. It's kind of a controlled atmosphere, so they didn't have too many variables. And they found that those who had kept active and teaching and studying and doing stuff like that had much less dementia when they got older than those who had just got into a routine and were doing very simple things that didn't really exercise the brain. So I mean, any doctor who knows about things will tell you that to keep brain nimble, use it, learn new things. They learn new skills. So memorizing verses is and sharing them is a wonderful exercise for the brain. And you know, here I am like at 73, and the verses that I memorized 40 years ago, 40 years ago, yeah, 40 years ago, they're they're still coming up. You know, that's a wonderful thing. Because you kind of even make a little line in your brain. You know, there's a certain, what do they call it, some scar or something that happens in the brain. Is there. It's almost like a recording, you know, you're cutting a record or something. And so it helps on that level too. And then there's also the Sanskrit. You know, we haven't really dealt with the Bengali except that one Bengali song. But the Sanskrit language, they've done studies. These are of Brahmins who, you know, memorize old sections of the Vedas, and they're always chanting. Their, you know, brains are like supercharged, you know, from that. I mean, we're not going to go in that direction, and we don't want to have a material motive for doing it. But there are many side benefits, and I mean, just from, I mean, what do we, you know, what is our Krishna consciousness? You know, we have so many things that help us think of Krishna, remind us of Krishna, encourage us in Krishna consciousness. Of course, the literature is so important in and of itself. We study every day. And then there's the deities and the prasadam and the devotees and all these different things. Well, these verses are like, you know, they're like jewels. You know, they're very valuable because they're ways in which you can think of Krishna anytime, any place, and remind others of Krishna. The next verse, which I won't chant the Sanskrit, after the one in the 11th canto I chanted, it talks about smaran yak smarayantascha, thus reminding each other about Krishna and remembering Krishna by reminding each other. This is why preaching is so nectarian, why the sannyasis say, yeah, I just want to be a preacher because every time I preach Krishna consciousness, I'm in ecstasy. Basically, that's the idea. And if you can just do it all the time, it's not difficult. There's so many material responsibilities. Then you can stay alive. And then Krishna from within the heart, he says that's the dearest devotee. And you're, you know, so this is a way in which all of us can have this formal way of you know, and the aesthetics of it, the Sanskrit is so wonderful. You know, I mean, so many verses now available, so many literatures, whole Stavamala. There's the songs of Jiva Goswami from Gopal Champu. My goodness, I discovered those fairly recently. Harina Halina Sahatupadalina Rajani Mukamana Janani La Kalina. That's the refrain of the song describing how Mother Yashoda was pampering Krishna and Balaram when they came back from the forest after killing Dhenukasura and his companions. There's a whole scene there where, you know, she's just bathing them and feeding them and putting tilak on. I mean, this is a song just about that. So it provides a wonderful means of remembering Krishna and sharing that remembrance. So I highly recommend it. And I'll help you as much as you want. This would be great. Next time I come there, I'll have all of you will have all these verses memorized, and we can just float along like Kunti.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. We're so grateful, and hopefully the devotees are really appreciating, you know, the sessions that we are having with you, Prabhu, because these are priceless, and we will not get it from anywhere else. So hopefully, devotees are benefiting immensely from these sessions. So we're grateful to you, Prabhu. And just on a closing note, for devotees, hopefully you're making a note of it. Next time when Dravid Prabhu is going to continue these sessions, we will request you, or we'll ask if anyone would like to recite this. Of course, we can't see you whether you're reading or not, but hopefully we want you to memorize, and probably Prabhu will be very happy to hear from you if you have memorized any of the 3 verses, or at least you know, 2 or at least 1. So you can pick whatever you can, ideally all 3. 1, 8, 42, 7, 9, 17, and 6, 11, 24. Okay.
But as for you, Ananda Gauranga, you have to memorize all 3.
The good news is I know 2, Prabhu, so it's only 1 that I need to memorize because you have guided me in the past. So thank you so much, Prabhu, and thank you to all the wonderful devotees. Until next time, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki
Ki
jai.
jai.